Welcome to Pitch Your Startup, presented by Innovate. This is your host, Bob Shami. Today we're delighted to have our guest, Avital Tzubeli. Avital, pleasure to have you on the show. And Avital is the founder and speaking strategist at Avital Tzubeli Consulting. Based out of New York City, I assume?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us, and let's jump right into it. If you want to give us a quick introduction about yourself, and this show basically, Pitch Your Startup, it really focused on startup companies, but when I came across and I met Avital and what she does and contribute to startups, I said, you know what, it's very important to have an episode just only how can we help startups and how Avital and her company plays a big role in that.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure.
Thanks for the great intro. Yeah, let me jump in. So I think we spoke briefly on the phone and I shared that I had an engineering background. I grew up kind of like a nerd. I was building computers since I was 13 years old, hacking, doing little things like that. Ended up studying computer science. Was a software engineer for a few years until I realized that I'd rather be talking about the code than writing the code.
Not to interrupt you, but you are in demand right now. An engineer, software engineer, you are
I've thought
definitely
about
in
it.
demand.
I've thought about
This is in demand.
it. Trust me, I've thought about it, but I really don't think I could go back to writing code. I just, yeah, I love speaking to the other side, to the person using the code. I love talking about the code. And so that's why I ended up kind of being in this space where I was getting on stages and speaking about things that I was building, that my company was building. I got to the point that I was helping other engineers do the same thing and eventually founders. And so today what I do is I help technical founders and engineers and other tech leads kind of speak about what they're building. And it's especially complex when it comes to more complex technology, and then they want to be talking about everything there is, and it's a lot easier to lose the audience. So anytime there comes, anytime there's tech and spoken word and an audience, that's where I come in and help, and I specifically help with pitches and founders when they're fundraising.
So you help startups and founders that mainly involve in tech, AI tech,
Yes.
or anything else, or focus on AI tech because of your
Not
background?
necessarily AI tech. I mean, that's the direction everyone's going today. Most of my clients right now are doing AI stuff. I wouldn't say necessarily there's still a ton of tech that isn't AI focused. I mean, everyone's using AI, but as long as there's tech, there's something complicated to explain, there's a problem, there's a solution, and maybe you have a bit of a technical background, that's where I can be the most useful.
Do you think there's a big saturation right now when it comes to AI tech startups?
Yes, I mean, we've seen that like throughout the years, anytime there's a popular topic, and it'll eventually come down to like, are you really using AI? Are you just leveraging AI? Is this really an AI startup? But at the end of the day, I mean, some will survive, some won't, but that's the direction we're going in.
Mm-hmm. And when you meet with such founders who, whether they are leveraging AI or using AI, or it's a real AI with their own, I would say, original innovation, proprietary innovation, of AI, do you come straight forward and say, hey, this won't work. I hate to burst your bubble, or burst your, how should I say, unicorn dream, but this is not the direction, because you cannot fool people or fool investors.
It's true. I'm not exactly going to do that. I have spent a couple years as a product manager, so I am able to see when things are going to work and maybe they won't. Where that question comes up is when I meet with someone and I'm like, okay, let's work on your pitch. What are you doing? And they're like, we're building an AI this and that. And I say, okay, but is it really an AI thing, or are you just using AI on the side, for tooling or process? And eventually we come down to it, and I was like, okay, you can't use AI as your title for your product. Maybe you have a slide where you talk about how you're leveraging AI because investors want to know that you are and that you're staying up with the times. But it's usually in the wording and in the story that we're telling about the product that I have to say, hey, this isn't really AI.
Correct. And what's some of the most common mistakes that you see a lot of the founders kind of, I would say, commit or kind of do, not knowingly, and some of them knowingly, but they think others might not see it. You know, everybody thinks they're smarter than others, but no one take a minute and say, hey, investors became investors because they savvy. They made money because they're smart and they savvy and they've been around the business world, so they
Yeah.
could see through somebody or through
Yeah.
their pitch. Yeah.
I would say the number one biggest mistake is too much information. Right? You've come to investors who have seen maybe 8 pitches before yours, and you're just spilling information. Like, what does the product do? How does it do it? All the different, unnecessary things. And I always say, like, okay, let's think about what's the gap between what your investor already knows and what they need to know. Because if you think about your goal for this pitch or for this conversation, it's not, no one's about to hand you an envelope of money right after this pitch, right? What you want is another conversation. What you want is more interest. So the goal of your pitch is just to generate interest. And the way you do that is by connecting to your audience. And so I would say the number one mistake is too much information, but the next biggest mistake is not understanding that the audience, i.e. the investors, are just humans on the other side who might also connect to this problem. You think that you're just kind of staring at a blank wall and you just want to put out everything or like say everything that your startup has done or will be doing, but there's a person on the other side that you want to connect to. And the way to get what you want, which is funding, is to connect with those people and have a continuing conversation. And that's when we get into the psychology of audience engagement and how you write a pitch that really knows how to retain the audience or the investors.
If I'm a founder, I have an idea and I have a pitch, I come to you and you look at it and you say, okay, Bob, do you have a product built? No, I don't, but I need money to build it. Now, do you see more people investing in ideas or a product kind of built already and, looking to grow that product and looking to kind of grow the partnerships because you already have the product?
I would say that that's changed over the last 2 years. When I used to meet people, maybe they'd come to me with their ideas that they need to pitch and they need money for. Now it's so easy to kind of build a proof of concept that no one's coming without something that isn't built. Now they're coming, they have something, they have a couple users, they're already making some money, they're already charging, and this is the point that they really need to grow. And that's when they're coming to me for their pitch. Most people don't have funding before that, right, in order to pay me to help them pitch.
Because of AI.
Yeah,
Because yes, it make it easier for everybody to build whatever they want.
yeah. I mean, you're not going to have something that's you're going to run with and like put in production, but you're going to have something to show investors.
Do you see a lot of people really coming out with extremely innovative product, or most of the product that you see of the startups that you come across and founders, a product that kind of relying on what's AI platforms available out there, leveraging the AI and creating their own AI ideas out of it by using it?
Like
Correct.
nothing, like everything's always going to be some version of something else we've seen before. And so you see a lot of things that sound like something else you may have heard of, and you see some things that you think, oh, maybe that's a little bit different, and that's what sparks your interest. Or maybe the founder history is a little bit different, or maybe the way they're implementing or the target audience is a little bit different. Like most of the time you will have heard of another startup that's doing something similar, but maybe there's something a little bit juicier here, and that's what your pitch is coming to do. It's to say, hey, we're juicier than the other founders that you heard yesterday. And this is why we're juicier.
As a consultant and a person who help startups and founders, what intrigues you most when somebody comes in with a pitch or an idea or a product that's finished already, as you said? So what really is like, oh, you know what? This is somebody I want to work with. I want to bring these in. They don't have to work hard to pitch you to work with you. It's like, you know what? Whatever it is, I'm going to work with them. I'm going to help them. I see success there. I see potential. I see a light in the tunnel there.
That's a good question. The people who are the best to work with are people who understand that there is work to be done. You mentioned earlier that some founders know that they need help and others think that they're better than everyone, and obviously you can imagine that the latter is harder to work with. And it's a lot easier to work with people who fully believe in what they're doing, because I also think that affects their confidence levels when they're pitching, right? So oftentimes you have like speaker training and all of this like public speaking 101, and they're talking about use your hands or stop saying or body language. And I don't focus on things like that, because I believe that if you are so passionate and if you believe so firmly in what you're saying, and it's not just like chat GPT vomit that you put into a slide deck, if you really live and believe what you're saying, that confidence will come naturally. Those will drop naturally. And so seeing someone who really believes in what they're doing and believe that it's going to be easy for them to get money because what they're doing is such a no-brainer, then obviously it's easier for me to work with them, and it's more fun for me to work with them, because I know that they want to make a difference, they're passionate about this, and they're going to put in the work. Usually the bottom line is, do I think you're going to put in the work? Because being a good public speaker, giving a good presentation, giving a good pitch requires a lot of work on your end.
Is there still excitement in investor sides on AI, investing in AI startups?
I would assume.
Yeah, because there's so many. There's like a barrage of startups every day. Everybody wants to be part of AI. Everybody wants to be, ride the bandwagon. It's like, hey, I want to jump on the bandwagon.
I'm assuming what's the interesting question now is what you said before. Like, is it legit AI? Is it just built on some other AI? There's a lot more work to be done on the investor's end, but I would assume there is excitement.
Interesting. Okay.
It's not really the side I'm sitting on.
You work with a lot of startups. I would say, how many startups you working with right now?
I only usually work with 3 at a time.
Three at a
And
time.
usually do a couple sessions leading up to a pitch. Over time, I would say 50 to 100.
Wow, interesting. So I like to focus. And do you reject any startups? They come to you as like, this is
A
not
good
something I want to work
question.
with. Yes.
Yeah, I have. I wouldn't say a full rejection. Usually it's like a first date. You could tell the chemistry isn't there, so then the follow-up takes a little longer, and then another side takes 2 weeks to answer, and by that point the momentum's gone, and you're like, I'm not gonna follow up again. Clearly there was no chemistry. Um, yeah, I would say it's more like that rather than an outright rejection. It's just about think about it. We're going to spend a lot of hours together. You're going to have access to me via WhatsApp or iMessage. You are going to send me a lot of recordings of yourself, which I'm going to send you feedback on. That's a very vulnerable relationship. So we want to make sure that we like each other.
Interesting. I like your strategy. Avital, how do people find you? If I'm looking for somebody to help me, how do I find Avital Tzubeli Consulting? Should I go on LinkedIn and just find you personally, or social media, or go to your platform? What's the best way to find you and connect with you?
LinkedIn is the best place right now. I have,
Yes.
up until now, I was living in Tel Aviv for a couple of years, and I always worked with word of mouth, so people just referred me because great relationships, like I said. And in the last few months, I've been trying to do the LinkedIn thing, which has been really fun, which is how I met a bunch of people and eventually you, Bob. So yeah, my LinkedIn's a great place to find me. Tell me what you're building, and I probably won't reject you if you seem like a pretty cool person.
I would say Tel Aviv is a hub for AI and startups and technology
Yes,
and all of that, a hub.
yes,
So, I mean, you must have been extremely busy there, working with a lot of startups. One of the
yes.
biggest one that was in Tel Aviv, I didn't even know the headquarters of it. What was it? What's the name of that platform? They built websites. Uh, they purchased an app platform called Base 44. You heard about it?
Was it
It was
Wix?
UX, yes. I didn't even know it based in. I thought the headquarters was in Manhattan, Midtown, not Midtown, downtown.
Nope.
Then I
Tel
read it.
Aviv.
Yes, Wix, and then it was in Tel Aviv, and I didn't know they, when they purchased Base 44, it was a small startup with a couple of guys, and there was no money, no investors, nothing. You heard about it, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yes,
of
yes, like
course,
for
of
eighty
course.
million
I
dollars. Like wow.
actually started this entire career by working with engineers and tech teams. So I've been
Yeah,
around with Wix and other similar companies in Tel Aviv. I'm actually going
yeah,
there this week and we'll be working with a bunch of startups,
amazing,
um, which I'm really excited
amazing.
about. I'm actually giving a new lecture, which I recently developed, which I call How to Get Your Audience High, in which I talk about how a good presentation is like, I don't know if I can say this, taking drugs, good drugs,
The
and
drugs
how
could be medicine, you know that. So drugs are medicine.
yeah, but the fun kind, the party
They
kind.
call it the Drug and Food Administration. So, yes, the
And the
recreational
idea
type, the
is,
recreational
yes,
type.
the
Okay.
recreational type. And the idea is
Yeah.
that when you give a good presentation, your audience is kind of like on a journey, and that chemical journey that happens in their brain when they're listening to you. And that's what you're going for when you're giving a good pitch or a good presentation. So today, when I work with startups, instead of saying, what's your hook or what's your why, or, kind of phrasing it with those like stereotypical pitch structure questions, I say, how are you going to stress your audience out in the first 20 seconds? And then how are you going to reward them for stressing out? And let's think of it as their brain chemistry so that we can connect with those investors.
Interesting. Um, Avital, what is, I mean, you're full of wisdom and advice. You have so much knowledge, but helping startups and founders. What advice you would give to somebody, upcoming founders who have their product built and they have their pitch, maybe not to your standard yet, but you're here to help them and put your magical spell on it to make it really more attractive to the audience, the investors, to the world out there.
What would my advice be?
Please, yes, because I'm sure a lot of these, startup companies and founders always looking for help, always looking for
Yeah.
people to give to kind of steer them into the right direction, and that's where you come into play.
The number one thing I say is to really know who your user is. Who's your target user? Who would be really devastated if your app or platform didn't exist? And can you describe to me a day in the life of that person when they're interacting with you, with your product? Because knowing that will tell you everything else. The pain you're solving, how big the market is, but like you must get really, really intimate with that person. Everyone says, yeah, of course I have product market fit, but like, do you really know that user? And I say that because it seems like an obvious thing, but I work with so many and I say, wait, but who's really using your platform? Who would really be sad if you didn't exist? Who, like, how are you changing their life? Let's talk about them. And it's through them that we build your entire pitch. So that's the first question that I ask people when they start working with me.
Well, to all founders and startups, you just got a free advice here. Usually, that advice will cost you money. So
You're
you got a,
welcome.
you got one on the house here. You got one from Pitch Your
You're
Startup
welcome.
and Avital. It's a Billy Consulting. Avital, what's the future holds for you and for your consulting company? Yes, we would like to know.
That's a really good question. So I
Yes.
have a 15-month-old. So right now I'm in a stage where I'm really
Congratulations.
enjoying, thank you.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
really enjoying working, I don't know, 3 days a week, which is why I told you I don't work with many startups at a time. Probably in a few months I'll think about scaling a little bit, adding more clients, maybe hiring a partner or help in some way. I'd like to create like different types of workshops and different types of lectures, and find more ways that I can provide value to my clients. So if you are huh? No, I was going to say if you love storytelling and public speaking, and you might want to be a partner, let me know.
Absolutely. This is, hey, it's an invite. It's an invite. I'm gonna apply. Send me the application, and I'll definitely apply.
You have to live in New York.
Yes, yes. Well, New York is not far at all. It's only hop,
I'm
skip,
just
and a
playing.
jump. But so you play the role of being a mom, and also
Hmm.
being a founder, a business owner, and a leader. You are a leader. You're leading
Yes,
all of these startups and founders to the path of success.
I
And
hope so.
yes, absolutely.
I
So,
know
well,
so.
yeah, I definitely, it's extremely insightful and inspiring talking to you and very positive. You're bringing a lot of fun and with this beautiful smile, you're bringing a lot of positivity to the screen over here. It's a pleasure
Thank you,
talking to
bud.
you and definitely enjoyed having you on Pitch Your Startup. And, until next time, I guess, don't forget to like,
Until next
subscribe,
time.
follow us on social media. Till next time.
Of course.
And
Will
always think outside the box. Always think outside the
will do.
box. Yes,
Will do.
absolutely. Avital, it was
Thank you,
definitely a
bud.
pleasure. Yes.
This has been a pleasure.
And
Have a
we
great
look to
day.
hear more from you, definitely.
Thank you. Me too.